friend. My name's WAGO Howard. Today we're going to talk about the harmonic minor scale. But first, if you don't know what a major scale is, we're going to have a hard time explaining this. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump right up here to the board, show you what my favorite little tool is. It's called the circle of fifths. So what I'm going to do is draw that darker. We're going to have a circle, like so. Starting up here, we're going to have our key that has no sharps, no flats. That is going to be our C major. So with our C major, I would say C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, most of music is taught through the eyes of C major. Which means, if you look at the distances between that, you will watch somebody pontificate about whole step, half step, whole step, half step. I don't believe that's the best way to teach it, and here's why I'm going to show you. It is a way to teach it, and I have taught it that way and continue to, but I enjoy this concept as well. When we see a 1 chord, a 2 chord, a 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, and then the 7 chord, we're talking about distinguishable notes of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry about the glare. When we have C major, if we put C right here, we can write out C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then have our scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You would eventually notice that between the 3 and 4 scale degree, and then between the 7 and the 8, or having the 8th being the same as the 1, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. If we go up 5 notes, we would find ourselves going C, D, E, F, G. Therefore, boom, blam. See what we're doing here? Going in this direction throws us out something called the circle O fifths. So when we say this, we add a sharp. That fa first sharp, it's going to be an F. When we say this, we would say G, A, B, C, D, E. And now, whence getting to F, we're going to write it as an F diminished. These are all chord constructions of something called harmonies or dyads. When you have a triad, you are throwing 2 notes. Most importantly, you are throwing the 1 and the 3, which in a major chord is a major third. It has the distance between G, G sharp, A sharp, and then B, giving us 4 very distinct half steps, minor seconds. So what happens is, when we see how this 7 scale note is just a collection of notes, and that in the Western ear we could use 12 notes called the chromatic scale, this collection of scale has all the notes in betwixt. All of these would look like this. You have your prime, and then you have your augmented prime. That's going to be your minor second. So let's write it as such. This is going to be our prime. This is going to be our augmented second or minor second. We could have that as well, or augmented prime, AP. We also have our second scale degree, which is going to be our major second. Then we have our minor third. And again, we can have an augmented second, but a major second, but that's not really a great way to say it. We really just refer to these as being perfect, augmented, diminished, or major or minor. Those 5 states of being. So when we go to their next one, after the major third, our minor third, we're gonna have a major third. Here's where our half step is, and there is not anything in between. We go directly to a perfect fourth. This next one is going to go up to the augmented fourth, or the flat 5, which is the diminished 5th. We then have a perfect 5th. Our 6th is a minor 6th that is right here, or we can have a diminished 6. Now, the idea is all of these, as you can see, can be augmented or diminished. There's not really a reason why you can't say, oh, I'm augmenting my 5th scale degree in this key, and that's how you make an augmented triad, 1, 3, aug 5. But when we go down, we are diminishing. So hypothetically, all diminished notes are going this way, and all augmented notes are going this way, towards the sharps or towards them flats. When we finish this, we have a major 6, which is the relative minor of the key, which is what we're going to talk about today. We then go to the minor 7th, which is, it preferably is, looked at as like the dominant 7th. It relates very much to the 5th because when you have a 5 chord, like a D, sometimes we play it as a D7, and it sounds almost exactly like our diminished chord, the F sharp diminished. I digress, though. That's for another explanation. Then we have the major seventh. That one's going to make the chord sound super nice, open, airy. And then after that, we have our next half step, which goes to our perfect prime, or our P8. That is, of course, known as our octave. So, if you are following everything I just said, can you see that? My goodness, I need fat markers. I should get some fat markers. No. So, if you're following me, here's what it looks like on the piano. When we have, let's say in the key of C, our 1, our prime, here's our minor second. The distance between this C and this C is an octave, right? So we measure distances to see intervals while playing. So you can move between chords, have fun in different keys, experiment maybe. You know, being able to see that 1 and 5 is parallel everywhere, except for these pesky B's. Then you have an idea of white to black and white to black. Ow! So when going up all these notes, you're not really limited by just the 7 notes of a scale. In the key of C major, that minor second causes dissonance, but when you play it up here, right, and go all the way down here, that doesn't sound too terribly bad. It's called a major seventh. You can also have major seconds, minor thirds, which when we take these two dyads, a minor third, 1, 2, 3, plus a major third, 1, 2, 3, 4, we get a minor chord. And that's essentially what we're going to talk about today, and how we can see that through the eyes of the minor rather than the eyes of the major. Since we landed on C, C minor, let's play in its relative key. E flat major. So let's complete this scale for people who have to have things completed, like myself. When we go through the process of saying C, G, it then goes to D, A, E, B, F sharp, C sharp. No sharps, 1 sharp. That sharp is F sharp. D has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. A has 3 sharps, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, so on and so forth. So when you go down to F sharp, you could say none, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. F sharp has 6 sharps out of a possible 7. If we take away those 6 sharps, we are left with 1 flat. The key of F has 1 flat. Same thing goes for B. If we had 5 sharps in the key of B, which we do, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, we would then say, take away the 5. How many flats are in the key of B flat? There are 2 flats, 5 sharps. That's how I utilize the circle to know exactly there is 1 sharp in the key of G, and there are 6 flats in the key of G flat. Instantaneously you could do that. And if you practice that, it get good. When we keep going around here, we have E flat, A flat, C sharp is D flat, G flat is F sharp, and C flat is B. Therefore, all of these have enharmonic names. You could even say like, I don't know, E double flat is a D. We just don't say that often. It's only used for certain types of music. So, by going through this process in the first, 11 minutes, this should catch us up to date, or speed, on how to view key signatures. If this doesn't make sense, stop this video, go back and watch one of these other ones, these music theory things, try to make it through there. They should have timestamps. I'm trying to go through the whole thing so it's not just me blah, 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 lying. We can go right to the facts and then you can move on with life. If we go through all this stuff right here and we realize we can do this with any key, the key that we're doing right now could be considered E flat. So let's write it up here and see it through the eyes of the major. And then we shall switch to the minor. We have E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and then E again. When we go here, C has no sharps and flats. So hypothetically, we are just playing E Phrygian, which is a type of mode. When we go to E, and then we find ourselves saying E has 3 flats, 1, 2, 3. The flats are B flat, E flat, and A flat. You write them in accordingly. You can either do them in order and go B flat, E flat, and then A flat. Dunzo. This is why we share keys with the relative minor. E flat has a relative key, C minor. Meaning if you go up, E major has a relative key of C sharp minor. So on and so forth. F, D, G, E, C, A. When we go through the process of seeing these, we notice that all of the same notes that we play as the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, can be started, or is that a word? Yeah. Can commence from not just the one over here, but as a minor one. And if we view it through the eyes of the C, we have now got C minor. Yeah, absolutely. So going on, our 7 chord was a diminished because I just dropped all my markers. Awesome. Because that 7 chord is a diminished there, now it's the 2nd chord, but yes, it is a diminished as well. We write it as a minor because it has a minor 3rd, and then we put our little diminished signal right here. This one's going to be our D diminished, so I'm going to write it as a lowercase representing a minor chord for a minor 3rd, the dyad that is the minor 3rd. It just so happens a diminished has another minor 3rd, flattened 3rd, so its stacking of these intervals we just written down goes as such. The chords that we're talking about here are absolutely the one, the prime. It's 2 majors, so I'm just going to do this and show what all the majors are in the key, the 1, 4, and 5. The next 3 groupings are going to be the minors, the 2, the 6, which we're talking about, natural minor, found in the key of the major, why it's the natural minor. When we have the G in there, that's also our minor 3rd. And then lastly, that is our diminished chord, as you can clearly see here. Major 3rd and minor 3rd construction, so major 3rd on bottom, minor 3rd on top, meaning here, when we play an E to G, this E flat is 2G, A, you guessed it, major 3rd. When we go up to the B flat, right here, that is the distance between these two, which is the minor 3rd. When we play minors in the next grouping, those flippity-flop. You put the minor 3rd on bottom, so the distance between the F and the A flat is a distance of 3 minor seconds. You betcha. You got this from earlier. So the key we're doing today is this key. I'm going to erase all the other nonsense, get rid of this here circle. This is what it looks like in juxtaposition to its family chords and how I go through just the major. When we view this through the eyes of the minor, things kind of change because today what we're going to talk about is the harmonic minor. Harmonic minor is super, super groovy because it does something that the natural minor doesn't. It gives the listener back the leading tone. The tone that goes T-do and feels like the expectation of resolution is right around the corner, because it is. Our 3 chord, when we go here, is absolutely going to be a major. Why? The 1 chord in the key of E flat, its relative major, is right there. When we go to the next note, we're going to have a minor. Absolutely, we're going to have another minor, but this one is no longer the 2, it's the 4. See where we're going with this? Next, we're going to have the G, also a minor. After that, we're going to have our 6 chord, major, and we're going to have our 7 chord. Oh, my brain's there we go. And then our 7, excellent. All of these now are represented through the eyes of the minor. If we continue suit, we've got our F, our G, our A, and then our B. The only thing we're missing here is putting our key signatures for the remainder of these notes. When asked why do key signatures share keys, that's because when you see a single flat, B, C, D, E, B, A, you share the keys knowing that one of the tonalities of this could be either through the eyes of the major or through the minor. When writing music through the eyes of the minor or analyzing the music through the eyes of the minor, the basis is that we're going off of hearing, does this minor change form? Meaning, can you use alternate notes besides just the idea of flattening the 1, the 3, I'm sorry, the 3, the 6, and the 5. The 3, the 6, and the 7. My brain is mush. In the key of E, if we had E flat major, right? Each one of these, if we had this moves, I could tell you that when we go here to C major, if C major had no sharps and flats, C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. When we flatten the third, we flatten the sixth, and we flatten the seventh, we now made C major into C minor. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5. We're going to be taking this flat 6, right? And then our flat 7, and then our 1. So C minor has the same notes that you would find in E flat major. So we are all caught up on how to see key signatures, how to read the key signature as being 2 keys, what it looks like through the eyes of the minor, which is right here, and what it looks like through the eyes of the major. Actually, we could keep this up here. So, here's where it becomes pretty interesting. If we have these notes that are right here for our C natural minor, if we alter, as I said, this leading tone or lending tone, we are making all the other notes in C minor subject to that change. Meaning, if we have natural minor, which looks like this, and we have Ionian, what we form over here for harmonic minor is a great basis for people who have just broken into the world of majors and minors and then are moving into minors and realize minors have different states with different notes. Let's explain. If we had a C, E flat, and a G, this would be a representation of the natural minor or its relative major. When going down in a row, we can write all of the tones: C, D, E, F, G, A, and then B. We then mark our key signature accordingly, in order maybe: B, E flat, A flat. When doing this, we could go down our whole row: F, G, A, B, C, and D. And then we do G, A, no H, folks, C, D, E, and then F. When we go through our row and we mark our notes accordingly, whether they're in order or out of order, what we notice is some of them are in the chords we play and some of them are not. This, when we go to the piano, looks like this. How funny. C minor. The next chord we're going to be playing is the D, the F, and then we're going to have our note inside the chord, right? We have our A flat. When we play our next chord, we've got the same E flat. We're going to play our G and a B flat. That distinguishably sounds like a major chord, because the consonant that we get is not subject to the same feeling of the dissonance notes, you know. There's no tension being built. The next chord is our F, A flat, and then we have C. Well, that feels like an F minor. Absolutely. Our next chord has a G, B flat, and a D. That's our G minor. Sorry for that little sus there. Can't help from playing. The next chord we're going to have is our A flat, right? Our A flat is built up to have an A flat, our C, and then an E flat, because the A flat and the E flat are inside the key, right? So when playing these, we get these really nice thick chords. And then lastly, after our A flat major, we have our B, we have our D, and we have our F. Well, this is our B flat major. Again, perfect fifth, major third. All the notes that we play through this chord structure are dictated by what we see on the board around here. So the idea is, what do we do with these when we take them to the next level? For songwriting, for chord writing, for chord construction, for analyzation, we would kind of view it through the eyes of the Roman numeral system. It's much easier to like take a melody line, put down the note that you think it's from in the scale, write down that foundation, do a whole line, read the other notes and see how they correlate to tertiary movements. Like meaning, do these two dyads and these two dyads of this chord, in this case, let's say the C minor, do they move fluidly through the major or the minor harmonic progression? In this case, the minor harmonic progression, onto which we are altering one of the notes today to get the harmonic minor. The lending tone or the leading tone. We are going to raise every single one of these B notes up by a half step, meaning any chord that has a B in it now is a B natural. So if you haven't experienced this yet, I think you already have. I had played music for quite a while until a teacher just kind of pointed to me tertiarily forming melodies while doing part writing. And and then when I went over here to the piano, when writing them out or playing them out and seeing them in a different fashion, I compare them to the natural minor. So C minor is our natural minor in both cases. And then the next chord we have has the D, F, and the A flat. So the first two chords of a minor are not affected. We still have the same movement. The next chord, however, absolutely does. We did have an E flat, a G, and a B flat, which gave us an E major. Now by taking this note and putting this from the B and augmenting it up by a half step, releasing that, it gives more tension. This chord, as you know, when you have a major third plus a major third, that is 4 minor seconds, and then 4 minor seconds, gives you an augmented chord. So the concept behind this is, we go through all the different notes and we see this as being a minor. We have this D, F, A flat as a diminished, and then we have our E flat, and then we have our B as an augmented. The next chord is an F, A flat, and then C. So our F minor is really not affected by that B, now is it? We'll talk about why that chord is super important in a minute because of that B being changed. The next chord is not a B flat, it's a B, which makes that G minor now a G major, changing the tonality of that chord, doesn't it? When we go to our next chord, the A flat, we have an A flat. Look at our 1 to 5 ratio. We still have this and we still have our C. So it still gives us that A major, or A flat major rather, because A major would be A, C sharp, and E. When we flatten all those one step, it just works by moving down our major third and minor third harmonies. And then lastly, instead of having a B flat major, we raise this to get our B. Now, granted, we are in the key of C, but now we get to return back to having a diminished chord. So, at this point, if you made it through here and you're wondering, hey, what are you talking about? The idea is this. That one tone allows us to play with different movements. Do you have to stay in natural minor the whole time? No, you could switch to harmonic minor anytime you want. What I was before mentioning, for many guitar players that think that they're switching in and out of chords, like if you're playing in the key of blah, and you play a chord and you're like, oh, that chord doesn't seem like it fits into this song, but it sounds good, I like it. The idea is from that family of chords that we did on the circle fifths. Sometimes you'll see how abstract chords really do work when you stay somewhat within a distance from other notes. The idea about changing the B flat to a B gives us still our minor chord. And essentially when we add one more note, the 7th, we're going to eventually see that this can be played as a minor major, which builds a ridiculous amount of tension. The next chord here, as we're doing it in just triad bass, is going to be considered that diminished. So shall write as such. D, F sharp, A would be a major, D, F, A would be a minor, and then D, F, A flat is our diminished. We also have E flat, G, and B. Since this came through as being everything is viewed through the eyes of the major, what's an E major? E, G sharp, B. E, G sharp, B. We'll flatten everything. E flat, G, B flat. Flatten the 5. Wow, what does that give us? That gives us, or raise the 5, I'm sorry about that. That gives us our augmented, represented by a plus sign. And then here we have our unaffected minor, which I don't know why I'm writing with a capital M. Should be lowercase. Do, do, do. Nice. And then little here, and then GBD. This is where it really gets cool. Turns into that major. You got it. We'll see in the next case that when you add a seventh, it becomes a dominant, which feels different from the aforementioned F minor and then our soon-to-mention A flat major. This one is our major chord. And then BDF turned into our diminished. Nice. So let's say we were playing a little melody and we were playing in the key of E flat or the key of C. What we would have is something that would be pulsing and having some sort of structure. Now I'm not going to overdo it here, but here we go. Just natural minor. It would have felt more like, which is way more of a space that doesn't feel like it's coming back. The resolution's still there as like a back door, but it doesn't resolve to a C major. Even to a 5 chord, it feels a little awkward for me. Moving through there, we went to an F minor, to a G minor, using the 5 chord and then eliminating the B flat and then doing a resolution if you're playing something that feels bluesy. You can move through that G minor into there and that feels great for like bluesy Dorian, bebop Dorian. Our concept here is we could use that now newly formed E augmented to move in. Why? The augmented kind of feels like it takes the place of the diminished. So it might go into our F minor, or it might do like a passing tone. You might want to move up in step by going in half steps or minor seconds, going in and out of the idea of that chromatic passing chord or those accent notes or moving tones. So that's up to you as the writer. But as far as the next chords, if we were to do like a C minor to a F minor to a G major to a B diminished to a C minor, we would still have the feeling of intensity. We can move into the major, go for a different section if we're trying for a different form, like a ternary form, rather than keeping it in one movement. But I digress. I think I've said too much. If we were to take this concept and shift it and move it somewhere else, we would still see that the concept of playing these chords works. If we did like, let's say, B flat major. A B flat major has B flat major, C minor, D minor. There's that E flat major, but now it's the 4th. When we go up to our F, we have an F major, and then we have a G minor. Isn't that great? We still have our tonality of having our 4 or 5, and then our 6 right now is our G minor, and then our diminished is our A diminished, and that goes directly back to our B. How cute. So when we're doing these, if we go down, we find ourselves at our relative minor, the G minor. G minor, of course, would have the same as those chords. G minor, A diminished, B flat major, C minor, D minor, E flat major, F major, G minor. Still very pretty. Of course, if you're writing something like we just did in C, if we did it in G, all the chords kind of just laid out there. When we add that natural note, we're viewing it through the eyes of the major. Not so much the major of where we started with the B flat major, but since G minor is only one note away from being G major, thinking about G major having all the notes that C major does, and just adding that F sharp on is a great way to think about our flattening 3, our flattening 6, right? And then having a natural 7. All those notes now are affected. What was a G minor is not affected like it wasn't in the C minor. When we go to our augmented now, or not augmented, our diminished, it's not any different than it was in the C because we had D, F, A flat. Well, now we're having our A, C, and E flat. And believe it or not, it kind of feels the same way too. The next one we went to definitely shifts. So we would have our B flat, our D, and then we augment this note going up, right? So instead of having just these notes moving true, ooh, look at that. So that definitely changes the feeling, doesn't it? So when we play these, nice. And then our C minor, the next one still stays the minor because it needs that minor tonality to build through. You can even build tension with it with a minor major. And then our next one is going to be our D major because we've changed our minor 5 to a major. After that, we're going to still go up to our E flat, right? Our E flat is unaffected, isn't it? Because we didn't have to change any of these. Still a major. But now the distance between our resolution from F to G has changed, plus the relativity of the F to the E flat, and now the F sharp of the G flat to that gives us our last chord, our moving or lending chord, our diminish. Even as a 7th, you know? It's a gorgeous chord and it goes back to our minor. So the idea about harmonic minor, if you like to play in major chords and you know your keys, let's do it in the key of C, which is a little bit easier to see. C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and then C. If we play those even in inversions, see how just knowing the F sharp diminished and going into the G, even though we're not in the key of B flat or G minor, but just knowing that that F sharp diminished is the lending tone for both major and minor is kind of cool because we know that we could actually use that to move our melodies now. So what I would urge anybody who's watching this while they're doing this is to try to write a little something on your instrument of choice. I just choose the piano because sometimes laying it out is a little bit easier to understand. The other thing that we do here, let me grab my trusty pen, is we make these with a 7th. So if we're looking here and we see our C, E flat, and our A flat, the next thing we need to do is take our next note. Skip the A flat and you're going to throw out the B flat. Well, here we're not talking about just our standard triads of a C minor. We're talking about using that naturalized B. So now we have a chord that really just changed our perception on music. This one's called a minor major 7. The reason why it uses the minor from our original description and then it alters it to become a minor major 7. Why? C, E flat, and G is the bass triad for a 1 flat 3 5. If we were to add that B flat, it would have just been a C minor 7. But since we're adding this tone of a B over the top of an E minor or a C minor, it gives us this uneasy tension. Feel it? So that uneasy tension, what we call, I mean, a lot of people just call it like the bond chord. It's used a lot in jazz, moving through notes, passing chords, building tension. Very nice. Our next one, D, F, A flat. Well, we gotta skip our B now, and we throw our C. Does it affect the B in this case? No, it doesn't. And if you can notice through here, we're just going through B, C, D, E, F, G, A. All of those are the ones that we put in for the 7th scale degree. Meaning, I don't know if I could do it up. All those notes alter our original triads. They just give it a level of extension, I guess is what we're going to call it. D minor. This one adds the C. Well, what is that over the top? If we're in the key of D major, everything's viewed through the eyes of the major. D major would be D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. Therefore, this one in tonality, in a D structure as 1 being the prime, makes this a diminished 7. How would I call it? I'd just do dim 7 like that. Sometimes you'll see like the chord, like if this was what, D, it would look like D diminished 7. You also have different types of diminished, but I digress. Dim 7. Here we go, E flat, G, B. So we still have the augmented, and then when we add the D here, well, everything's viewed through the eyes of the major. So E flat major, E flat F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D. D feels like it has a property of a major 7th, which it is. So we name it as such. This adds the 7th, so this one equals an augmented major 7th. Aug major 7. Sometimes you'll see it too in parentheses, so you don't get crazy and diversify the two. In fact, there's a lot of different ways to do lead sheets. Don't just take one person's opinion on it. Go read a whole bunch of stuff. Get yourself a jazz book. Have fun with it. Let's see here. The next one we do here, F, A flat, and C, and then E. Well, view it through the eyes of F. F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E. This isn't an E flat, so it's not a dominant note. It's a major 7th. So this one we have another minor major 7th. I can even do it the same way we did there. A minor major 7th. Right on. The only other way we could do this is if we're constructing this and we're adding different tonalities to it, like we're moving like major 7. You can also view this as being a G, B, D, right? D, right here. D, C, D, D sharp. G, B, D with the D sharp. That's an augmented chord, isn't it? Like a minor 7, major 7 flat 5. G, B, D major. When we have an F, G, B, D major, F sharp should be our major 7 chord. So this just makes this a dominant 7, or a G dominant 7, G7 if you want. And that gives the feeling like it's supposed to go to. It feels like a B diminished, so it feels like it's going to go into C, which, you know, that's an interesting thing considering A flat here has an A flat major. A flat major, when you add the G here, well, in the key of A, we have A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. So this is not the major 7. This is, again, we'd have a major chord that's building down, and we'd have a major 7 coming off of it to make a minor chord. This has our major chord, major, and then we have a minor. And then lastly, we have our diminished when we add the A. This just takes it to the next step. Let's take a look at that chord. Almost all of these different functions that we have do this thing. All of our diminished can always add another note. So that's a C diminished, right? And we add our A there. When we're talking about this one, we had a B, D, and an F. Well, if we add the A, what is the A in correlation to the B? Always viewing it through the prime of the chord and always viewing it through the eyes of its major. B has 5 sharps, all the black keys. So B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. So what is the A? Well, it looks like we have a diminished minor third, and then minor third. Well, groovy. What do we do when we see that? We're going to see that as a diminished 7. You betcha. So, one of the things that we like to do here to see is that we could do these chords and chord progressions and make up some fun. Maybe that's what we should leave it on. Oh, my bad. Maybe we should leave it on that right now. I'm just going to write out a quick chord chart using some of these, and let's see how it works. And I guess if you have any questions and you're in the comment section and you're like, hey guy, what's up with that? Maybe I could explain it. Right on. All right, we have this key up here. Why don't we try in a different key? Let's try in the key of A minor, C major. So I'm just going to get rid of these and leave that up there. If you're playing along at home, I could leave this on the board here, and you could go through A, C, E, and A minor is interesting because we don't have any sharps or flats in here. But by doing this, we have to know that A major has 3 sharps. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp. So in the key of A harmonic minor, we're going to make every one of those G naturals a G sharp. There we go. A, you can even, instead of writing them linear in the beginning to get memorization for your brain, visual patterns, you could also write them out this way, which is how I suggest. I suggest maybe just writing like a C, D, E, F, G, A, B, so your brain remembers what C major looks like in its form, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then go through the process of seeing these. And you could use A, you go down to B, but then instead of going down and writing A, B, C, D, E, F, just try and do it as the triads next. Gives you 2 ways of memorizing. B, skip C, hit D, D, skip E, hit F. You can do that in your head. You can do that by going B, C, D, E, F. Take away the 2 and the 4, our sus notes. Give us the 1, 3, 5. You can even put it up here. Sometimes I've seen people even write this whole thing out because they can't visually see these. So when you do have 2 octaves, compound octave, from here to here is called a compound 8. So when you're able to go B, D, F right here, or F, A, C, you now see your triads being laid out just with your fingers. That's another great way to do it. Another great way to do it is to do that circle fist thing. What key are we in? We're in A minor. So if we did A, we have it here, E, C, G, D, F. Here's our B. These are all the notes of A minor. That's what your circle looks like. So that's where you memorize what an Aeolian looks like or an Ionian looks like. And then over here, one more. C, here comes C, E, and then remember how we said we're going to raise our G's to a G sharp to give another tone? Well, this is kind of what we're looking at, right? Awesome. So here we go. We're going to take D, F, A. There are no sharps and flats, so in the key of A minor, we have a D minor. When we go over here to our, I'm writing kind of big on it. When we go over here to our next one, we've got E, F, here's our G sharp, and then our B. That makes this now a major, so cool. We have our F, skip the G, hit the A, skip the B, hit that C. There's our F major, very cool. And then lastly, G sharp, B, and D. Now what this does, it makes it feel a little awkward. However, that G sharp, B, and the D still is charismatic of being this. Look at that chord. If we analyze it through a G sharp major, major, flat in the 3, flat in the 5. Cool. It just gives us a diminished chord. Very nice. So as you can see all these in their root form, lay it out. A, C, E, D. What's after A, B, C, D, E, F? Then we have our G. So if we do this, we see that through the eyes of here, we now have a minor major. All of these work out when you keep the key that's in the key signature of harmonic minor and diversify it from natural minor. Every single time we do this, B, D, F, skip the E, E, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. If you see how these all go in order, all you have to do is remember the key signature. Then you can go through and write down every single one of these super, super fast. And in your brain, you will solidify while going over to the piano and then playing it. So let me get this out of the way so you can see the markings. You don't really probably care about what I'm doing on the piano, do you? And then let me go doodle over there on that key. See how it sounds. If you have any questions about this while we're going, I'm right here at the piano. I'll watch it. Okay, so A minor, A, C, E. Normally, if I was grooving, I would have my relative or my pentatonics. Sounds like a right now. Okay. Here, this is kind of off, isn't it? So, C major has a relative key of A minor. If we have A, C, E, that's wonderful. Our A minor, when we add a natural G, would have an A minor 7. But we're not looking for our A minor 7 here. We're looking for our... Ooh, listen to that chord. Minor major. The next chord we have is formed from our diminished as well, but now we have what note? Yeah, we have an A on top. The next chord, which would have just been a major, has the G sharp in there now, so we have C, E, G sharp, and B. Again, it's that augmented feel, but it has that major 7 tone. It's definitely going to clash a little bit. Thelonious style. When we do like a D, F, A, absolutely, that's a minor, but listen to what that dominant 7th does to that D minor. Ooh-wee. So you can consider this like an F6, or you can consider it a D minor 7. Very cool. That tends to be this one that leads into having C, having no sharps or flats. E. Oh, is that right there? That would be another minor with a major, and we don't want that, right? We definitely want it in the key of D, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. We definitely, for that D minor, regardless of its sonority, would that be a major 7, dominant 7. So these stacked, we do have these minor third creations. How very, very cool. All right, the next one we're doing is the E, G sharp B. Now, generally, we would have had an E minor over the top of this, and then adding the next note would have given us an E minor 7. That's in natural minor, right? I use E minor 7 a lot. I hope you do too. The next one that we have here changes that to the G sharp. So we now have E major, and then of course when we add that D, we're playing a dominant chord. Why? Tertiarily, we're taking 2 triads, layering them on top, and then getting a 7th tone. So we have one note as the prime, 2 notes which share relativity as a dyad, and then the last note being that 7th tone. It's not a sharp here, so we don't have that E major 7. We just have our E dominant. And the E dominant feels like it wants to go into its prime chord. However, that's for another video. Our next chord is going to be using the F, A, C, and then E, so it gives that F major a very open and airy sound, you know? see it on the Borad. Ding, 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 ding. B, we've got our D, we've got our F, and then we've got our, I didn't write it up there, but the next note to come after when we stack for the 7th is the A. As we can see on the board, it says dim 7, for sure. So if we're gonna write out just a little bitty melody, maybe we could do something like A minor, G sharp diminish, outside the key, G major, we went back to natural minor. If you were to walk down, you would only be moving the chords in and out of the key of A minor. See how we're back at the F here? So you could throw in your F major 7. How about something interesting? We do the B diminished there. And then we're, how about back to the root? Do. So that feels fun, like our feeling of the one. Starting to sound like Hotel California. C feels good. Now look at this chord, analyze this. There is no C with the harmonic minor, but in the key of the natural minor there is. So knowing that the G sharp is your passing tone, maybe utilizing a melody that goes up to that and utilizes an inversion rather than playing this, maybe utilize your C and then your dissonance here, ooh-wee, and then move through into your A minor in a secondary inversion here. So you're not jumping around the piano, but you still are able to go to a very pleasing chord. And then back to your 1, or even throw it as an inversion. And then go back to 1. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this, and it gave you a little bit of insight into how to actually manipulate your instrument and utilize the notes of a harmonic minor. Playing pentatonics, or playing an instrument that increases your chances of doing something like 5-note structures or even arpeggios using the 1-3-5. You can clearly see how if you added the 1 note inside of a minor 1 flat 3-5, and let's say you were doing the dominant note, on here, if we did, oh, that's a major minor. How about dim 7? B, D, F, and A. If I went through the idea of playing the second here in the key of, what is this, that A minor there, that diminish right there means that I could play the 1, flat 3, flat 5, and then I could throw up the A and use that in scale patterns, being like, ha, 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 na, 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 which turns into patterns called like the whole tone scale or the whole tone half tone. These little variants aren't too terribly hard to see on your own instrument. It just takes a little insight, being able to go through the things we went through this morning, like being able to name what the intervals are between the 1 and then the 7, 1 and the 6, knowing the difference between in a key, the major 7th in this case we have a minor chord with a major seventh. The way we derived that was viewing all music through the eyes of the major, which means you kind of got to know some theory behind what chord structures are, and the best way to do that is to draw out your circle O fifths. If you have any questions about it, put it in the comment section. I would love to hear your thoughts on how I could have done things differently. If you found this to be very, very informative, please subscribe, put a thumbs up, and share it with somebody you know. Aloha.